The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Rounding out May entertainment includes the Chippendales on May 13th and 31st. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The alternative rock band Fastball performs live at the Pier 6 Pavilion in Baltimore, Maryland on June 8th. I spoke to lead singer Tony Scalzo about the band's journey to record hits like The Way, Fire Escape, Out of My Head, and You're an Ocean. Hey, Tony Scalzo. Hey, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We are talking to the lead singer of the band Fastball because you all will be coming to the Pier 6 Pavilion in Baltimore, Maryland on June 8th. I think of Fastballs in Baltimore. You know, we think of the Orioles, but we're not doing too hot this year. We're in last place and just fired our manager, man.
I'm preoccupied with the playoffs, basketball playoffs.
Oh, yeah? Who's your squad?
Well, no, none of them, none of the above right now, but I think I would like to see Knicks, Oklahoma City.
All right. So Fastball, we're not changing the name to, dribble or anything. It's still Fastball, but you like the NBA at the moment. All right, I like it.
You should go into business making rock band names.
Probably not. I don't think dribble is a good rock name at all. No, Fastball is way cooler. But no, yeah. So we're holding out hope for our Orioles, but you'll be surrounded by O's fans and O's hats when you're at.
I have a few friends who are definite O fans for sure, and Caps too.
Oh, the Cap. Yeah, well, they just got bounced from the playoffs. But Ovi had a record year, and another number 8, Cal Ripken, is going to be all over in Baltimore. And you're playing June 8th, so there's a lot of 8s going on.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a lucky number. You know that's a lucky number in Chinese.
Is that because it's the infinity symbol sideways?
I think it is.
There you go. I don't know. We're making all kinds of crazy connections for this. But
we sound like podcasters.
Yeah, pretty much. But I guess all this is to say that Pier 6 is a cool spot there in Baltimore. It's right, on the water there near the Inner Harbor. Have you played that spot before?
No, I don't believe so. The last time we were in Baltimore, we played a place that was it was outside, but it was pretty makeshift. It was like, gravel lot by the highway.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. I went to like an art festival. Well, this is a little different. It's on the Inner Harbor. It's right in the heart of everything. Well, if folks come to the show, let's tease a little the set list. I assume you'll sprinkle in some greatest hits, but is it also going to be a lot of Sonic Ranch, the newest one?
Yeah, basically it's going to be a combination of those two. We really have 4 recognizable songs to most people.
Yeah.
But we're confident that most people know those 4 songs. So that's a good thing. We got to do Out of My Head, You're an Ocean, Fire Escape, and The Way. And yes, thank you for mentioning the new album, Sonic Ranch. We will be doing cuts from that. We will be doing a couple other things if we can fit them in. It's a pretty short set. Unfortunately, we're not able to stretch out and do all the things and please all the fans that we want to. But, it's a great bill, and we're really happy to be playing with our friends Bare Naked Ladies again after over 20 years, 25 years probably. So, and Guster is a band that we love, but we have never played with before. So, yeah, we're getting real excited. We begin in Atlanta on the 3rd of June.
Awesome. Then up to Baltimore on the 8th. Well, we're excited. Between you and Bare Naked Ladies and Guster, there'll be plenty of hits to go around. It's going to be a great day.
Agreed.
Well, I'd love to do a deeper dive onto, some of the making of some of these hits. But before even that, I love whenever I have someone on like yourself, a rock star. I'd love to sort of chart your journey a little bit. I know you were technically born in Honolulu, Hawaii in '64, right? But was it because your dad was moving around in the Marines? Like you mostly high school was California, right?
Yeah, mainly grew up in Southern California. Didn't really have it. a history in Hawaii because I was a kid, little tiny toddler when
You
we
don't even
left.
remember it.
And well, I do now, but because I've changed a
Yeah.
bunch. Yeah, but yeah, Southern California was a pretty vibrant place for music in the late 70s, early 80s. Uh, I always I always thought that I would do this for a living.
Oh, you
Start
did. You actually did. So wait, what made you say that? Was there did you hear a certain band or a certain, you know what I mean? Like did you pick up an instrument at a certain age? Like what was the
Well,
spark?
yeah, about fourth grade, I really got into the Beatles, and then I had a friend who had an older brother. Okay, so that older brother was into music, and he was a surfer, and so he had lots of records that kind of that era of California surfer would be into. So you had
Yeah.
everything from like Cecilia and Capono, which was like a Hawaiian rock band, and a bunch of funny bands like Honk, bands you never hear of today, but there was kind of a scene, and then they were all into the Laurel Canyon type vibe,
Mhm.
so a lot of Eagles, Jackson Brown, and uh, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I was
Yeah.
really into.
I love those Eagles harmonies, man.
Yeah, and
It's
then and
just great.
then really started getting into progressive rock when I was like 10. So some of my favorite bands when I was 10 were like Frank Zappa and Yes and Pink Floyd, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And
Nice.
then as I sort of got a little older and in Southern California, sort of new wave and punk was happening. And so it was, we were more exposed to that than, say, somebody in like Nebraska or even Texas who had their own versions of that stuff. But it was big industry business back then. So there were all kinds of shows you could go see, bands that were happening at the time.
I want to remind our listeners, if your ears were perking when he's dropping a lot of those influences, those band names, we've had. I invite them to search our archives because gosh, a lot of those prog rock folks, we've had them. We've had Pink Floyd, we've had Yes, we've had Emerson, Lake and Palmer, we've had them on the show, and some of the early, even the Eagles, and who else
Fantastic.
did you mention? Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Like everyone, look them up after you listen to Fastball here. There's a lot of cool archive material.
I also have a soft spot for Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and classic rock. So I really kind of love all of it, and I still do. And I have a background in classical music, and I played music in school, in orchestra, and in marching band as well. So I
Awesome.
played trumpet, I played low brass, I played piano growing up, and I use all those early
Yeah.
influences to continue, making music.
A nice variety of influences.
I think it's
And
important,
it is.
honestly.
It is
I
not just
think,
one narrow niche. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, no offense to those people who are hardcore, whatever genre they're in, country or metal or
No,
punk.
it takes
I
all
just,
kinds.
yeah, I never could latch onto one thing.
Right.
Just never could.
Okay, cool. So then how do you make your way down to Austin, Texas to meet the guys? Because the band Fastball forms in what, early 90s. So how do you get from Southern California to Texas?
Well, it was a musical opportunity, and I had been struggling and working day jobs and playing in bands in California. There was a little bit of an alternative rock scene in Orange County where I lived and was growing up, and it had connections to the Los Angeles scene, and right in the middle between like, the hardcore punk of like the early 80s with Black Flag, Adolescence,
Mhm.
TSOL, Social Distortion, uh, all the way up to the sort of Seattle thing where, obviously
The
Nirvana and
grunge thing was going.
Alice in
Yeah, yeah.
Chains and all that stuff. Uh, Jane's Addiction and Red Hot Chili Peppers were probably the biggest bands around the time that I
Yeah.
was a young musician playing in
Yeah.
bands and getting exposed to playing in front of larger crowds. And
Little Pearl Jam in there too?
yeah, I mean, I got to see Pearl Jam because my band Tender Fury was playing in Phoenix once, and this is around 90, I want to say 90,
Oh, okay, early. Yeah.
90, maybe 91, but 10 had just come out, so I don't know exactly the date, but
10 was 91, so if you were ahead,
it
way
was
ahead of the
early,
game.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it had just come out, and I was out there, and I had some friends who were working for the band, who worked for Pearl Jam, because I was doing a lot of stuff, but I wasn't making any money. So I got to see them early on, and I saw a packed crowd with people slightly younger than me going crazy. And there was probably about maybe 2,500 people at the Shell in
Wow.
Tempe. I was still working. I was in a couple of bands. I was in a band of my own called The Goods, and that was a three-piece band, a rock band, sort of like fast, loud, almost punk, but also like
Yeah.
super hooky song in the vein of what Fastball sort of became. And then was in another band. I was playing guitar in a band called Tender Fury with Jack Grisham from TSOL and Randy Bradbury, who later joined Pennywise. Um, but I got a call from a friend who said there's a singer-songwriter in Austin. Would you be willing to relocate and be in this guy's band? He has a deal. You know, they told me all kinds of stuff like, uh, there's money. And there really wasn't any money. I don't know. Maybe I just thought that they said that there was money, but it
Yeah.
was a long time ago. So I
Yeah.
ended up moving to Austin, and then we worked with this guy. I worked with this guy named Beaver Nelson, who he did have a record deal, and we went out to Memphis and recorded an album. Unfortunately, that album never came out, and things changed at the label he was on. And so it was kind of done, after about 9 months of living in Austin and working with Beaver Nelson, I found myself sort of there,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel like I was going to move back. I didn't super love it, I thought it's okay.
Mhm.
It's bloody hot, and
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that. But I got used to it, and I met a lot of great, amazing, amazing people out in Austin. And they welcomed me, and I became a part of that scene. And I've been a part of that scene since I moved there in July of 1993.
Wow. And that's a
Uh,
cool time that Austin. I was just talking to the bass player of Jet, the band Jet, about
right
they're an
from
Australian band, but
Australia.
they spent some time in Austin. I think they did their
They
third
did
album.
indeed.
Yeah.
We,
But we were talking about
yeah,
how much it's changed because my wife and I got engaged in Austin actually. But
this
it's
is
changed so much. And so when you were there, that was probably like right when Richard Linklater and it's starting to pop, Slacker and stuff. Like right, the
Yeah,
scene is
Slacker had
starting to pick.
already, the only exposure I had to Austin and what it might be about was from the PBS show Austin City Limits,
Right.
which I grew up on. I loved
Yeah.
everything that was ever on there.
Yeah.
Even in the late 80s when they started to become almost exclusively Nashville country.
Hmm.
I don't know how that happened, but there's a phase where it's nothing but like
Yeah.
Trisha Yearwood
Yeah.
and George Strait and you know then little by little they started bringing in a more diverse thing again, which they
Right.
started out as. So and then the other thing was that movie Slacker. Yeah, so Slacker I saw at one of those art houses in LA where it's a totally indie movie, and
Oh,
it's
totally. Yeah.
still
That's
kind of
what,
a weird
1990? Yeah. 90. Yeah. 90. Yeah.
89 or 90. It's a weird watch for
Yeah.
sure.
For
And
sure.
today, what's funny is I know a lot of the people that are in that movie have become my friends over the years. And
Do you know Linklater? He's come on to
no,
since
I
like
don't
10
know
years
him,
ago, but
but I know a few of the
yeah.
people in it. Namely, my friend Whammo was in it, and he's
Whammo.
he's in the pool hall, which was at
Yeah.
that time called Trophies.
It
There's a
was
few.
one of those. It was yeah. That's even before. That's like 4 years before Clerks. Even like this was like
Oh
early
yeah,
indie. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
yeah. Clerks is the one where they're sitting out in front of the convenience store at the
yeah.
beginning.
Jay and Silent Bob original.
My son and my daughter live right down the street from that
Really?
exact spot.
There you
Yeah.
go. We're making all
All
kinds of
those
crazy
places,
connections.
all those places are familiar. Some of them are still up, and some of them
Yeah.
have been,
All
demolished.
because we mentioned Austin and then we went down the slacker tangent. Now we're on Clerks. All right. I'll bring it back around. How did you
Uh,
pick the name Fastball? Was it because, Nolan Ryan is Texas, Astros, Rangers, or is it
that's funny because growing up, here we go. Now you mentioned Nolan Ryan. So I was an Angels fan growing up, Anaheim Stadium,
hmm Yeah.
uh, and Nolan Ryan was probably had some of his best
Oh yeah.
years on the Angels.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't really make the connection that he's from this area here where I am sitting right now, but he's on a lot of radio commercials now. Like,
Is he? Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the guy was insane. The
it's
number of
so
no hitters
so
he threw.
fast
Yeah.
too,
It's
so
ridiculous.
fast. How about
Ridiculous.
that scene where the guy ran? He charged the mound.
Robin Ventura. And
he, he just
no,
kept
Nolan,
it
Nolan just
tight.
puts him in a headlock and just starts pummeling him, and he's blood everywhere.
Amazing.
I would not charge the mound on that dude.
Yeah, I don't condone violence,
Yeah.
but unless it's Nolan Ryan beating on
Yeah.
Ricky.
That's the biggest beating I've seen a pitcher give anyone other than Randy Johnson and that bird.
Yeah. Oh
And he
yeah, yeah.
exploded
Wow.
the bird.
I remember that too.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
See, basketball does have we got baseball in our blood. We have American sports in our blood for
But is that
sure.
where it comes from, or is there
No,
other?
it doesn't. Not at all.
Not at all.
The fact is, we had a name before we put out our first album, which was called Make Your Mama Proud.
Yeah.
Um, and we were called Magneto at first. Then we changed our name to Magneto USA just in case.
Is that an X-Men reference or a
See, that's
copyright
what I was
issue?
worried about. So we
Yeah.
called it Magneto USA. And then we found out through our label that there was an international boy band from Mexico on Sony Latin America. And they already had a deal and they were kind of famous. They were called Magneto.
Mm.
So they said, you really should change the name. And we're like, oh, okay. We didn't care really. I don't know.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get moving. And
Yeah.
the record was already recorded. We needed a title. It had to go out, right?
Yeah.
So, or we needed a name for the band. And so we came up with a big long list of names and they were all stupid. And, Dribble was one of them, I think. And then we ended up with Fastball. That's the one we all seem to not despise.
Right.
So that's it.
Well, there you go. That'll
John
make
Lennon always tells the tale of we could have been called Flaming Pie, but we just happened to be the Beatles with an A.
Yeah, I'm glad it's Beatles and fastball. Much catchier. All right. Well, you
But
mentioned
the Beatles, that's not a great name. In fact, it caused problems for them in the early days. And yet, when you see it on the white album on the cover and it says the Beatles, everything just sort of makes sense.
Oh yeah, well, if you can remove all of our pop culture knowledge of it, it's like yeah, it's like Buddy Holly, the Crickets and the Beatles, and like it
That's what they
doesn't
were
seem
going for, yeah,
it doesn't
because they
seem
were
like
such
it
Buddy Holly fans.
doesn't seem like it would work, but it's so ubiquitous now, and it's almost hard to imagine anything else.
Yeah,
Same with fastball. That's you guys. I can't imagine any of Magneto. But all right.
right.
So you mentioned "Make Your Mama Proud," the first album in '96. That's what your record deal with Hollywood Records. Like,
Correct.
how'd they actually discover you? Was it in
Uh,
Austin?
it's crazy because I was telling you about being in that band, Tender Fury,
Hmm
and we were doing some recording with Julian Raymond, who was a producer and an A&R man from Hollywood Records. Okay. And this was in Los Angeles. So that's how I met Julian by literally working with the guy in a studio. But I had moved. So I moved to Austin. I don't even think Julian knew that I moved to Austin
Okay.
because one night Magneto USA is playing at the Hole in the Wall in Austin. And here comes Julian Raymond. And I'm like, Julian, Tony, What
What
are
are you
you
doing here? Yeah.
I'm here to see some band. What are you doing here? I'm here to play. He goes, what band are you in? And I said, Magneto USA. And he goes, that's a band I'm going to,
You're coming to
I'm
see
in here
me.
to see
Didn't
you
know
guys.
it.
So we played
Great.
what I didn't think was a super stellar set, but at the end of the night, him and his buddy Rob Seidenberg, who's become one of my best friends over the years, decided, they wanted to sign us to Hollywood just like that. And they arranged for us to meet them. We were going to be playing in September. This was in, I don't know, August.
Okay.
So in a month from that night, we were going to be playing a showcase at CMJ in New York, right, which is the College Music Journal, which was a publication that did something akin to South by Southwest, but this was spread out through the city. And well, we arranged to meet Rob Seidenberg, and you know, we talked about a deal, and next thing you know, we're on the label and we're working on that record, Make Your Mama Proud. Okay, so that record didn't really do that well though.
No.
So, you make an album, you put it out, you do press, you talk on the phone to lots of people, you do what we're doing similarly, and you play gigs and you get out on the road in a van and you work your butt off basically, and you
Yeah.
sleep on top of each other in the van or in a hotel if you're lucky. We went on the road with Matthew Sweet, who was having a great sort of moment in his career, and we were chasing his bus around basically around the country and got to play for a lot more people than we had been, and learned a lot and came back and started working on another record. But we weren't sure we were even going to be able to make that record because, as we said, we understand that Making Mama Proud didn't really do very well. So we weren't sure what was going to happen, but we just put our heads down and went into the studio and made uh, All the Pain Money Can Buy, which had a lot more diverse styles and instrumentation. Arrangements were more sophisticated. Tempos, were basically more radio friendly and mid tempo, and things started to click. And by the time we were done, the label was starting to get kind of excited about it, actually. So,
Really?
yeah, and it looked like we were going to stay.
So
So
they
we,
could tell. Then they're listening to it coming in.
I
They're like,
guess, yeah, a lot of these people were veterans,
hmm,
namely Bob Cavallo, who was a
hmm,
big time manager of like the Goo Goo Dolls and
yeah.
Prince, I think, at the time. And I could be wrong on that, but anyway, he became the president of the label. And then other people started coming in from other labels to work at Hollywood Records. And we didn't realize it, but they were coming pretty much for the reason of putting our record on the map. So a lot of radio people and a lot of
Hmm.
publicists and things like that working together to push this album. And the record did great. It had a lot of
Oh, yeah.
juice behind it. A lot of radio stations all over the country, and little by little, Canada, Europe, Australia, Japan, things started really blowing up. And we were able to make videos, be on MTV, VH1, do all the TV
Yeah.
shows, Tonight Show, Conan O'Brien, David Letterman, all
Awesome.
that stuff. The only thing we didn't do was SNL, but you know, it's still nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's a lot of coverage, and
Oh yeah. It
we
it
did
was
real
massive. It was
well.
massive and
Yeah.
platinum and has a bunch of the hits you mentioned earlier. Let's sort of take them one at a time. I would love to hear the creation of them. So the first single, I guess the really big
Away was the first
was The
single.
Way. And folks,
Yeah.
that's, if anyone can see the road that they walk on is paved. I mean, we all remember it, but the
Should I
rock,
get my guitar and
yeah.
we can do it together? I like it.
But yeah, I think it tops the rock chart, US rock charts for like 7 weeks or something. And then it even goes into the pop chart.
Correct.
It's a
Yeah, it
crossover
started
smash.
out.
But
I probably told this story about 10,000 times,
now it'll be
but
10,001.
I'm not even exaggerating.
Yeah.
So basically, it didn't was trying to figure out what to write about, you know. Sometimes you sit down and I'm gonna write a song, and you're like, um, uh, you know, you've got nothing, right? So I happened to look at a newspaper, a local newspaper in Austin, and I saw a story about a missing elderly couple and I don't know why, but I just started reading further and further and how they still hadn't been found. And it sounded actually kind of poignant. And I could see that this was a big deal to the family of these people. They're worried, they're scared, they're freaking out. And the community is sort of like trying to help them figure it out. The news media was put on the story, and I ended up writing the song and basically the words to the song before the day was over,
Wow.
um, without the story actually having resolved itself. So, it actually ended tragically, and they were found, but
Mm,
they were deceased.
man.
They had crashed and went down a ravine. So super sad.
Yeah.
And yet, I didn't make it out to be a sad story. I made it out to be this positive thing where I felt like their motives were, more romantic, and they were just trying to be together by themselves without the responsibility of all their family. And, you
Yeah.
know, that's how we start a family, isn't it? I mean, we have, another person, a partner, and
Yeah.
we make a family together.
Yeah.
And, the rest, it's hard to get back to that.
Yeah.
Maybe for some.
Yeah.
Some couples don't make it, and couples, you know, some couples stay together forever. And I'd like to think that that's a way to make them immortal, and not those people, but their relationship. You know,
Right.
their marriage was immortal, their love was immortal.
Ah, I love that. I love that. Well, may all of our listeners, marriage, including mine, stay immortal.
I
Thanks
hear
for
you.
that. Thanks for that
I hear you.
insight. Thanks for that insight. Similar question about Fire Escape. Well, it's funny you mentioned the Magneto name, and here you open with Superman Clark Kent reference. But
That is
or
not my song. That is Miles's song. That
okay.
song was written by Miles Zuniga, and I do not have much insight about how
So
he
he
came.
brings it to you, and do you remember him bringing it to you and being like, "Oh, this could work"?
Yeah, I mean, we'd already made an album, and this was on All the Pain Money Can Buy, so it's our second album,
Mhm.
and it's basically in order to fill sides of an album or whatever you call it now,
Hmm.
to get that playlist set up, you gotta have content. So, you gotta write a bunch of songs, and he came and brought that to the table, and I brought The Way and Out of My Head to the table. He brought Fire Escape and Sooner or Later to the table. And, you know, most of that album I think all of those songs are exclusive compositions either by me or by him.
Gotcha.
Later on, we've written a lot of songs together. So we've got collaborative compositions all over our material.
But
Uh,
back then it was
Back then,
solo
yeah, I
originally
mean,
then. Yeah.
yeah, we've learned to work together a lot, a lot better.
Yeah. Awesome.
We've got a good thing going still, and
That's
I'm
awesome.
very grateful that we're able to write songs together.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I love his material, and I think the feeling's mutual. So
Gotcha. All right. So you brought The Way, and then he brought Fire Escape, and I promise we're not going to go through all because that's the way the tracks go. That's one and two, but we're not we're not going to go through the whole album. But I do want to hear. You said you wrote Out of My Head, so I do want to do a deep dive. The last one on that album, then we'll move on. But it's such a huge hit. My listeners would kill if we don't go into it. So
right.
it's a piano based, and I think of the Hammond organ and all that stuff. Like it's still echoing in my brain when I.
Yeah, neither one of those elements came into play until I started demoing the song.
Oh, they
Uh,
weren't there originally. You just had the word.
no, no, I mean, I wasn't, I mean, basically, I recall walking around my house with an acoustic, And I think I was in the middle of this super obsessive uh, period of digging Oasis, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
like,
Everybody did then, yeah.
I mean, I just liked the way they had simple chord progressions with great melodies that were super strong.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just sort of coming up with something that maybe resembled like Wonderwall or something, you know?
Oh yeah. That
Um,
that's the ultimate sit around a campfire in college and strum and sing along.
sure. So it's strummy, and if you hear it,
Yeah.
you still hear the acoustic guitar is
Yeah.
pretty strong. It's pretty much the meat and potatoes of the whole song, and the other
Yeah.
stuff, you know, the piano is sort of like a pad, you know, like dang dum dang
Hmm.
dang, and the organ is all just it's dressy. It's all like embellishment, and it adds a lot to the track. But
Yeah.
all the keyboards on that track were played by a guy named Kim Bullard. And this is funny. We go back to the sort of Laurel Canyon thing because Kim was a member of Poco for a long time, which was super big band
Mhm.
that influenced the Eagles and part of the LA sort of country dusty scene, you know. And
Nice.
he had a lot to add, and he since went on to become Elton John's main keyboard player for 20 years.
Wow.
And obviously he's Elton's off the road, so Kim is doing other things. But yeah, so I didn't really know how it was going to sound until I demoed it and add some of that stuff. And then he took it when we were in the actual studio at A&M Records, and he made these parts just pop and come to life. And yeah, it's not a long song. It's got one verse, and then the chorus is repeated three times. It's super simple,
Yeah,
and
but we can all sing it to this day.
I love
Was
it.
I out of my head? Was I out of my
Yeah.
mind? So it's
And
great.
I think there's a lot to be said for that simplicity and you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people really want to work very hard on something to make it great, but you can work something into the ground and
Yeah.
like, what happened? You know?
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
overdo it. You can
exactly.
work so hard on it that you strip away what could have been just the organic, simple elements of it.
Right.
Um, awesome. Well, there. Thank you so much for the deep dive on all those songs because that second album was huge, and I believe. So right after that, what I think you get two Grammy nominations off of that, right? The Ways up for best rock performance by duo group vocal. There's no winners and losers, but a quote unquote loss to Aerosmith. Pink is my
Right.
favorite color.
Right. Which is
Damn, that's Steven Tyler, right?
not their strongest tune.
No, no, that's a
Okay.
career win. That's because they're name recognition, right? And I love those guys, by the way.
This
But
is where it's at right here.
oh wait, pull back a little bit because I can see them both. Pull back. All
This
right,
is
there's
the
Aerosmith.
original first album, which they recorded in Boston in two
Yeah.
weeks. And this is Jack Douglas produced after after Toys in the Attic. But this is my probably my favorite of their harder stuff. I'm an Aerosmith fan
Oh,
from
I love those guys. And I was sad to see when they said, they had to, retire because of his voice and everything. But my
good.
wife and I got to see them at MGM National Harbor here in near DC. And
Good.
we were right up by the stage, him, on top of the piano screaming Dream On and the smoke is coming. It was life-changing.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I
Unbelievable.
I saw them in I think it was '89 Permanent Vacation Tour
Oh,
with
phew.
Guns N' Roses opening
Oh my God.
at the Pacific Amphitheater in Costa Mesa, California. And I'll tell you what, Guns N' Roses was good, but by the time Aerosmith got into their second song, and it was like Guns and who, it was
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they
And that
mopped
so
the
permanent
floor with
vacation
them.
would have been that's Ragdoll and Dude Looks Like a Lady and Angel and all that stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But the ones you
Yeah,
held
and
up,
then Pump is
Rocks
after
is
that.
Back in the Saddle and
Yes, yeah,
what else
back
was
to
on
the
that
saddle
one?
exactly. And
Last Child.
Last Child, yeah,
Yeah. He's back in the saddle again. Oh man, it's just great. Not to
yeah.
that's
Nobody's fault.
oh
Sick as
yeah.
a dog.
So all right, so yeah, so nominated for that, and then I think the They Wanted the Highway was also up for like a music video. I guess Lou Reed pulled.
Right,
Yeah,
right. I think that's up on YouTube now, and
yeah.
I recommend it. We
No
were
shame in losing to Lou Reed and Aerosmith. That's a not badge of
right.
honor.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I had a fun time at that Grammys
Yeah.
show too. We hung out at the bar with Garbage,
Oh, nice.
basically, because we didn't really have good seats for the show,
They put you
and
in
our
the back.
manager let us use his seats, so we had to split our time during the show to go sit in the closed
Nice.
seats.
That's great. Did you have a
Um,
speech written you never got to give?
Uh,
Or were you just gonna
no,
wing it?
I never took it that far. I think we just would have ad-libbed it. We knew
Yeah.
all the people that you're supposed to thank. I do believe a lot of those people who do win, they know because they work with those people all the time, and
Yeah. They
they
have
know
an
who to
idea.
thank. Thank your manager, thank the label, the publicist,
Yeah.
you know, the publishers, all the
By that
radio.
point, they're already playing you off the stage. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so you have a fun time at the Grammys, and then you put out what that third album, Harsh Light of Day, 2000. That's the one that has You're an Ocean on it. That's the you said that's the fourth of the four songs that you have to play. Is this the point where you are collaborating now with Miles?
Not quite
You said you.
yet. All those songs are basically, you know, just individual compositions. There's some pretty great stuff on there, I think, but admittedly, it's not very upbeat. I
Is it
think
more experimental? What would you call? Would you
it's kind
classify?
of dark.
Dark, yeah, moody.
Yeah. I mean, even the cover, it's just black. It's monochrome. It's
Ironic because it's called The Harsh Light of Day, so you went the other way with it.
right. And in retrospect, I think we should have tried a little harder to make it, a little, I don't know, just think about the listener, you know, consider the listener would be
That's
uh,
the takeaway.
a good advice that I would give anybody.
All right.
It's there musically. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of great musicians on it.
Hmm.
Some are famous. I mean, Billy Preston came in and did some piano for You're an Ocean.
Hmm.
Brian Setzer came in and did some guitar, which is on Love is Expensive and Free. And but then we even had some more interesting stuff. I think it's more interesting to have a mariachi orchestra on Love is Expensive and Free with it. They were sitting playing violins and trumpets, and
That's
we
cool.
had some we had a full orchestra for a couple of tunes. And all that stuff is such good. It's such a good experience, especially for someone like me who loves the history of American pop music. And we're doing it in a studio where they've done so much. And I didn't want to go in and do a Green Day record at a place where they did Carpenter's albums and
Right.
uh, Sergio Mendes and Herb Alpert. Um, they they did We Are the World there, and
Yeah.
I literally wrote You're an Ocean on the piano that you see Diana Ross and Stevie Wonder sitting on in that
Whoa, the same
movie.
exact piano.
Exact Steinway Concert Grand. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Pretty
Could you feel it
fantastic.
on the keys? Was there a
It
little
was a
Stevie and
great
Diana?
piano. I mean, it is a great piano. I'm sure it's still there. And but there is something to be said for, the setting,
Oh yeah.
the vibe, what it is,
Hmm.
really plays into stuff. I think it's, whether you just think of that and it puts chemicals in your brain because of, those ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has an effect. And let's see. So that album, as hard as we worked on it, we made a video um, for Urine Ocean.
Hmm.
It did okay. We went on TV again, did all the rounds, and we got to appear in a episode of Charmed,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So that we'd play that song live
You were
on
playing You're an Ocean in Charmed, right?
yes, in the whatever club they went to and hung out in. Very
Nice.
interesting. Very interesting to do that TV thing. And
Yeah. That was a
uh,
CW show, or I guess back then it was the WB, now and then it was the CW, and yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Shannon, uh,
Doherty. Yeah.
rest in peace.
Just
But
passed. Yeah. Sadly. Yeah.
I have to say that she was so sweet and so unlike most of the people that
Yeah.
were sort of established because we're just some little alternative band from Texas
Yeah.
but I don't even think she knew very much about us, but she came to the set and said, I'm going to Starbucks. Does anybody want anything? And she got us all, it's way before anybody's supposed to be up.
Yeah.
It's 6:30 in the morning. And I just got to say she was the sweetest person that we dealt with.
Oh,
And
that's good to hear. Yeah. Rest in peace for sure.
yeah.
Man. Well,
Anyways, despite all that work, we went out, we went all over the world again, and we came back, and it was just kind of a different time already.
yeah,
We're
absolutely.
moving right along, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, here comes the Strokes. Here comes, the Yeah, Yeah, Yeahs and all this alternative rock
Yeah.
and Ryan Adams. And, things just start changing
The
at the
landscape,
jam.
the ground you were standing
Yeah.
on was moving of
And
music.
though we dug all that and we were treated very nicely by most of those people that we came in contact with, we weren't a part of it. And we
Ah,
were also kind of like top 40. And we were kind of like, here we are, Fastball. And we're in this category. And we're basically in this category with bands that we came up with, like Sugar Ray, Smash Mouth, Goo Goo Dolls,
yeah.
Everclear, you know. And I'm friends with most of those people
Yeah.
at this point. But at the time, I didn't really dig it. I kind of resented the whole idea that we were like them, and I didn't believe we were like them, and I still don't believe we're. And I think they'd agree. We're diverse musically, and we're really good musicians, actually, I think.
Oh, you got more than just a fastball. You got a changeup. You got a curve. You got you don't like being
I,
just put into one
I mean,
lane.
just myself, I can do a lot of things that
Yeah.
most of those people cannot do,
Yeah.
and that's jump into different genres um, and write just, in different ways. I take songwriting very seriously. It's an art form that I love, and there's no right or wrong way to do it,
Hmm.
as long as the outcome is satisfactory to the listener
I love it.
and brings something to the world. Um, so
Keep that mindset. Songwriting, that's
okay,
the name of the game. You know what I mean?
got a
Like that.
deal, man. I
Keep it
will.
up, man.
I think that we started to lose spirit a little bit. Things were getting weird. The label decided not to pick up a third album. We ended up going with another label, with uh, with Ryko. We went
Rika
with
disc,
Ryko,
right?
which, most people are familiar with Ryko as a catalog label
Mm,
that buys bands catalogs and puts them out. And like they
I
put
see.
out all the Elvis Costello, Columbia stuff. They put out the Zappa stuff, Queen, Bowie. And we loved the idea of being, in such great company. But they weren't really experienced in being, a current artist label.
The creation of stuff. They're more of a
Yeah,
back
yeah.
catalog
So
putting
what
it out.
happened was basically, and they changed heads, you know, by the time we were done with our next album, which was called Keep Your Wig On.
Oh, 04.
Um, they had changed. And
Well, they're all probably panicking too, because think Napster and all that's coming in at that time too. So
yeah,
the music
streaming
industry is
was,
just
yeah,
going nuts.
MTV stops playing
Yeah.
music videos. VH1 has reality shows.
Yeah.
And it all sort of like, oh, 9/11 happened.
Yeah. Oh,
That
yeah.
things got weird. And
It's completely different than when you all started in the 90s.
yeah, we're heading into our mid 30s by then,
Yeah.
where most people are in their early 20s.
Yeah.
So we had to learn to adapt. And so we
Yeah.
put out what I think is a fantastic record, Keep Your Wig On. Unfortunately, the president of Ryko decided he didn't like it, didn't like the band.
Mm.
We, you know, to be fair, we weren't focused. We weren't. good looking. We weren't, fashionable. Um, but we were doing what we wanted to do, and we still think it's a good record. So certain amount of fans held on,
Good.
and the diehards stuck with us, and we're grateful to have the hardcore fastball fans who have grown in numbers over the
Hmm.
years, thanks to us literally having to start from,
Yeah.
uh, page one again.
Yeah.
And and now we've sort of organically grown rather than, you know, like a skyrocket. We are more like a slow burning flame that turns into a bonfire, hopefully.
I love it. Absolutely. Well, those hardcore fans will be definitely coming to the show in Baltimore for sure. Well, I
Yeah,
want to before we go, I don't want to like gloss over. We don't have time to go into all the albums like we've done,
obviously.
but let's just I'll group them into one question really quick. So, Little White Lies in 2009, Step Into Light 2017, The Help Machine 2019, The Deep End 2022. Is there one of those that you're in that phase? Is there one that you're particularly proud of, if newer?
Yeah, I think they're all pretty good. I think they were all pretty good. I thought they were pretty good at the time, but I wasn't sure how good they were. But I go back and I think that they're all really good. We started learning how to work together and write together. There's
Mm-hmm.
more collaborative compositions on those records. We started working with different producers, but in a way that we know what we want, right?
Right.
We at this point we know what we want and we know what to ask for in a producer.
Yeah.
We worked with you know, uh, some good producers. Let's see, I have to be careful because I want to get the names right. So we worked with a guy named CJ Erickson on Little White Lies, and we got some really good sounds working with him, and then we moved on and we started working with Frenchie. Frenchie's a guy from Austin. Chris Smith is his name, and he actually introduced me to the guys in Jet because he produced some stuff for Jet in
Oh, really?
Austin. I loaned them a couple of items from my rehearsal to make that record. I think I loaned him a drum kit actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
That's fantastic. And now your two episodes of this podcast are going to air, I think, the same week. So it's a nice
all
kismet.
right. Well,
Yeah.
hello, man of Jet. Hold on one second. And and we made a couple more records. We started working with Steve Berlin from Los Lobos,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's when we made Help Machine, and that's when we really started our what I consider a really good period. Once we started making Help Machine, I was feeling really good about our tracks, and that's a fun record to listen to, even for me. I mean, um, and then we were about ready to tour that record, and pandemic hit. So,
Yeah.
but we were able to go back and start working on new material instead of, spending all our time out on the road promoting Help Machine. We sort of made Help Machine 2, and we started working with, we did some tracks with, more tracks with Steve Berlin, which go on to the deep end,
Okay.
right? And then some we just did ourselves. And basically, put that together on our own. And it was out when we pandemic ended. We started going out again on the
Hmm.
road, and we were able to promote those two records sort of in the same vein. And I do believe that, and I hate to I sound like such a pompous jerk, but to me, those two albums are similar in concept to the like Revolver, Rubber Soul combination,
You mean the
because
1-2 punch of the Beatles
yeah,
versus
yeah.
Help Machine
Well,
and
George
Deep End?
Harrison always said that that should be one album.
Right.
Like that would have been a great double album. But so I think they're kind of like brother and sister records. And so after that, we started working with David Garza. David Garza is an old friend from Austin who has done a lot of great stuff with Fiona Apple and a few other artists out at Sonic Ranch. Sonic Ranch is a studio in West Texas out in the desert. The closest major city is El Paso, and it's over an hour's drive.
And
You're
Marty
basically,
Robbins ain't making that dry.
nope, probably not. And it's a great place because it's state of the art, and yet it's just it's almost like some kind of Star Trek episode where it's just this place that's amazing, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Literally,
Tornillo, Texas is I looked it up.
Tornillo,
Tornillo.
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 And basically, you don't do very much out there except work on music. Work on music. There's Mexican ladies there that'll cook your breakfast and your lunch and your dinner. And they have excellent coffee machines wherever you turn. And they have a fantastic wine selection as well. So basically, you have fun doing your work. And there's not much else to do. So
Not a lot of
I think,
distractions. You're there to
oh,
do the
there's
music.
zero
Yeah.
distractions.
Yeah.
And David, working with him, he's extremely creative and extremely high energy. So he's locked into what you're doing all before you even get there.
Hmm.
And you send him demos and he's got ideas. We went in the studio, we tried to get some basic tracks down, some of which we tried different approaches to. America is a song that we're currently pushing as a new single. Um, we basically got this weird, instead of a real drum machine, drum set, we started using this collection of plastic water bottles and noise-making junk, really.
This is your Brian
Really
Wilson
sitting
bringing
on
in
that,
random items and
bongos, dobro slide guitar and acoustic guitars doing things that
nice.
none of us could really think of doing on an
Mhm.
acoustic guitar. He's doing this stuff, and it's just I love the way working with him made everything different.
Before we go, you've been so generous with your time, but you said you're pushing the song America. I want everyone to look it up, download it, stream it, watch it on YouTube. What's the message behind it? It's sort of the state of the world, and you don't want everything to be, black and white,
Yeah,
left and right, right?
yeah, yeah. So without getting too political, I'll definitely say that we're reaching out to the people of our country whom there's no reason to have any animosity for.
Hmm.
Um, I believe that over the years, especially over the last 20 or 30 years, um, politics has become divisive and it's turned our country into, uh, you know, a divisive
Yeah.
place on the surface.
It's
Okay.
team
It's on the
sports.
surface, though.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that, let's face it. How many of us really has a say as to what goes on?
Right.
Yes, we vote. We have elections. How many of us has time to follow all the stuff and all the hocus pocus
Mm.
crap that
Yeah.
goes on? We don't.
Yeah.
Most people vote their first impressions
Yeah.
and then they vote their pocketbook,
Hmm.
right? They vote on promises made. And promises have been made on both sides. I wouldn't say one, I wouldn't see they're both equal, okay? And I'm not going to tell you which,
Sure.
but I just think that we need to connect with each other,
Hmm.
the people of this country. And the people of this country are diverse, and almost all of us comes from an immigrant
Yes.
background. Almost all of us, okay? The only ones who don't are Native Americans. And
Exactly.
there's other people that come from I'm an immigrant, but not by choice.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. Slave
They
ship,
were
etc. Yeah.
forced to come here.
Yes.
And we're here, but yet they've made it their own, and it's their country, and it's my country, and it's your country.
It's all of our country.
And,
Yep.
and that's not going to change.
Mm-mm.
No matter what some people try to do, that's not going to change. And they're not going to change history because no matter what they put in the Library of Congress, no matter what they put in
Or
the
what they take out
library
of the Library
or
of
what they
Congress.
take away, we still can know. We can know. And all it takes is a little bit of, you know, empathy, compassion. If we take that away, we just have a poor image
Yeah.
internationally. And I don't think any American wants to be considered, a crummy country that has no compassion for the rest of the world.
Compassion is the name of the game.
And I think it says in the lyrics, it says, uh, America is more than what you see on TV.
The exact line is America is hard to see if you only see it on TV, looking for someone to blame. Picture
Thank you.
doesn't fit the frame.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
if you're only watching, Fox News or
Or
MSNBC, what, yeah,
CNN.
CNN, yeah, they're
Uh,
riling you up. They want to get you angry at each other. They
America's
want to,
never been as horribly influenced by capitalism as it is now. It's all about getting that advertising money, and it's toxic on
yeah,
both sides.
yeah,
That's the problem
because
is
chaos sells.
yeah,
Chaos and
yeah,
blaming
yeah.
each other sells, and
Mhm.
we gotta, I think we as Americans
Conflict
gotta see
sells.
through that. We
Mhm.
gotta see through that noise
Absolutely.
and stay informed on our own and kind of tune. I think the more we can tune out that cable news stuff, I think the
Right.
better we are.
And yet, but see, that's a thing. That's the caveat. What if you do shut down all the information,
Mm.
right? Then you don't know. And
Yeah, you
then
need to stay informed. So
it
that's
can
the
be
trick.
taken advantage of. So it's very
Yeah,
difficult. And if you can at least look and find out what's going, like maybe look at C-SPAN.
yeah,
Boring as it is, who's got time to watch a Senate,
yeah. Right.
meeting or a committee talking to,
Watch the actual politician's speech in its entirely. Make your
uh,
mind up off of whether they sound crazy or sane or good ideas. Don't go through the spin machine of, them
well,
coming
it's
up.
a hard responsibility, and most
Hard.
people don't have time or the wherewithal to do it.
Nope. But if
Uh,
they listen to America, it's going to solve all the nation's problems.
yeah,
Pick
yeah,
up Sonic Ranch on the way.
absolutely.
Thank you for going into some. I know that these are really tough times and tricky problems we're trying to hash out, and we're not going to do it all in one music podcast. But I do appreciate you going there a little with me for sure. Um,
Absolutely.
but
I feel
anyway,
strongly about it too,
yeah, same.
and yet I tread lightly
Well, yeah,
because
you have to. You have to
right,
because
and
yeah,
it's not because I'm afraid. It's because I don't want to create an image of
yeah,
myself or my band
right.
as one way or the. I don't want to alienate my American brothers and sisters,
No, because I don't think anyone
my
has a
neighbors.
monopoly on the truth. It's we. There's a place for all of us at the table.
Right.
So, uh, well, keep up the good work and doing it through your music, because in your like you're saying, songwriting is an art, and in your music, in your art, same as literature, filmmakers, whatever. I think those are the artists are the ones that are going to lead us through, and you know what I mean. You can make nuanced points, you can make symbolic points, you can do commentary.
Yeah,
So we,
I want the nuance to come back.
yeah,
I want all that. You have to look at things, and use your imagination too, and know that, and stop reacting. People react so negatively towards things that they're running with something they're already just gonna.
so easily triggered by yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I could
Keep
go on and on.
Oh, we could definitely. Well, keep up the great work in the songwriting and your artistry. We need artists like you now more than ever. So everyone, check out Sonic Ranch and go revisit all the greatest hits we've mentioned, because you're going to be hearing them when Fastball rocks Pier 6 Pavilion in Baltimore, Maryland on June 8th. You'll be with who is it? It's Bare Naked Ladies and Guster, right? So
Correct.
awesome.
We'll be out all summer with Bare Naked Ladies. Half of the tour is with Guster. The other half is with Sugar Ray. And
Oh,
you're
great. Hey, Tony, thank you. This was so much fun. Thanks for making so much time for us. You were really generous with your time. We really appreciate it.
pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.